Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Indian Nation Station pregame show. It's the 2020 season. I'm AJ Ganger here with Dwayne Bachman, one of the voices of Piqua Indians football. Dwayne, thank you for being on the show today.
My pleasure. It's good to be back, and it's good to see the 2020 season right around the corner.
And it's great to see that we're going to have a season because we didn't know a couple months ago whether or not football was actually going to kick off on Friday nights here at the end of August.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about it because 6 months ago, all of the athletic directors had their 10-game schedule. They were out promoting season tickets. Then all of a sudden they decided not to play the non-conference opponents. Then that made for more change. And then the OHSAA came in with their latest schedule change. And so it's been a season of change, and we haven't even played a game yet.
Yeah, that is very true. Well, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, it will be the 136th Battle of the Miami live from Alexander Stadium. This season is going to obviously look different than those in the past. Let's take a look at the 2020 schedule for the Piqua Indians and talk a little bit about that. Tonight, they're going to play Troy. Next week on 9/4, September the 4th, they're at Vandalia Butler. On 9/11, they're home against Greenville for, I think, the third straight year we play Greenville at home.
Is that it? Could be.
Yeah. On 9/18, we are at home against Stebbins. 9/25 will be at Tip City, and October the 2nd will be at Sydney to close out the regular season, and then the first round of the playoffs would begin on October the 9th. We're only playing NVL teams. Instead of a 10-game schedule this year, it is going to be a 6-game only NVL team, and at the end of the season, every team in the state of Ohio makes the playoffs.
Yes, let's talk about the playoffs before the broadcast is over because it's interesting because it's never been a case where football teams have all had an opportunity for the postseason like they've had in basketball, and they've got a couple unique twists to it. We'll talk about it perhaps.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about some of the games this season. Piqua's got a pretty tough schedule, I would have to imagine. I mean, Troy, right off the bat, they used to play that way back in the day. Then we go on the road to Butler, and Butler is never an easy team to play on the road or at home.
We have always played Butler tough at home. We've always had a struggle when we've gone to Butler. Right.
And then Greenville, who we've actually pretty much played very well over the last few years, beat them pretty handily, as well as Stebbins last year. The first MVL win we got on Thursday night against Stebbins on the road. And then you got two tough road games, Sydney and Tip City. Tip City's always a tough game, no matter where you're playing them as well. And Sydney, you never know what's going to happen against Sydney.
You're right. That's a pretty, I'd say, ambitious 6-game schedule. Yeah. I'm glad to see only MVL teams on that schedule. That would not necessarily be a requirement of OHSAA. Everybody had a chance to put 6 games together. They could go any place they wanted to as long as they realize that in the postseason it'll be by division.
And they also could have just said, we're just going to play 10 games and not go into the postseason, but they would have had to have found those 4 other games at the end of the season. Because even when you get knocked out of the playoffs, you can still play 3 more games.
That's what makes this very unusual.
It is.
You can play 10 games, but the 7th game you lose in the playoff, you still got a chance to play a couple. It'll be interesting to see, AJ, how many schools who lose that first game of the playoffs decide that it might be enough for the season. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that fares up. Who knows?
And I think if Bill Neese is able to beat Troy and Sydney in the same year and then lose in the first round of the playoffs, he might just be like, hey, we had a successful season.
That could very easily be the case.
All right, let's look at the games around the Miami Valley League here in week number 1. We've got Vandalia Butler traveling to Tip City, Fairborn going to Xenia, Greenville's at home against Sydney, and Stebbins is on the road at West Carrollton. There's some good games, I think, at least 2 good games that could happen this week. You got Butler on the road at Tip City. That's going to be a defensive struggle because those offenses are notoriously known for running the ball up the middle. And then you got Xenia, who I think Xenia is going to be one of the teams that beat in the league this year.
Dark horse. That could be a dark horse. Had a terrific season last year. They didn't pass the ball, but they ran it very, very effectively.
Yes, they
You're
did.
right. Those two games that you mentioned are probably the two toughest games other than the Piqua-Troy game.
And then we got Stebbins and West Carrollton, two of the teams that were towards the bottom of the league last year. West Carrollton actually got better as the year went on. I think they were a pretty young team as well. They beat us at home.
That might have been the upset of the last of the 2019 season when West Carrollton surprised Piqua.
And Piqua last year finished the year at 5-5, a 500 record. They've been 7-3, 6-4 since we've started doing the games. But I really think we're going to see a different Piqua team this year, obviously, and our defense from last year is pretty much the same defense. We're going to be pretty strong.
I think you're right. Offensively different, defensively continue to be well, I tend to think it's probably the strength of the whole team. Look at the defense. Won't give up many points. Question is, how many can they score?
And I think a big key to Piqua being such a defensive team is Bill Neese himself. He is a defensive-oriented guy. He'll work with the offensive side, but that man is offensive line, defensive line, get in your face, get in the backfield, get the ball. He is that type of coach.
We've also always referred to him as a defensive guru.
Yes, he
and
really
I think
is.
that sums it.
Yeah, he really is. And you got Troy Uhl as the offensive coordinator. He's the offensive guru as well, and Rick Creechy as well.
Yes.
Well, Dwayne, let's step back a second here before we talk about the Troy Piqua game. We've got a totally different season. We're going to see a lot of different things happening. Obviously, all of the home games here at Piqua can be seen live on the Indian Nation Station's YouTube page. You and Bob Luby will be calling all the action. You can go on our Facebook page when we go on the air. We'll post a link there. Or you can subscribe to us on YouTube and turn your notifications on. You'll get notified as soon as we go live as well. Also, great news that I heard earlier this week, Buffalo Wings and Rings will be showing our game live in their restaurant, our broadcast.
I wasn't aware of that. That's terrific news.
And they'll be showing that broadcast as well for those who can't come to the game, being only 1,500 tickets that were available. First, they would go to the parents of the players and cheerleaders and band members, and then the remaining tickets, if there were any, would be given out to the public, which I believe there were 350 last night available for the public to purchase and come out to the game and support our Indians. But if you can't come for any reason, go to Wings and Rings, watch it, stay at home, watch it on your couch.
I'll be real honest with you. This is an opportunity for Piqua fans to see it live.
Yes.
And I hope they take advantage of it. Glad to see Wings and Rings getting involved. This will be very, very special. Not for the teams, not just for the teams, but for the fans, it'll be a little different from you and I and Bob Luby as well.
It will be different for you and Bob because this season we're not going to have you guys in the press box because of the press box capacity, and we want to keep everything down here. We're going to actually have you guys in studio. What do you think that's going to be like for you and Bob?
Well, I think it'll be interesting. You and I have we've had a run through, but again, I'm watching the Cincinnati Reds. Their commentators do not go on the road, and I think they're doing a wonderful job. And I think with what we've got planned, and we've scripted it out pretty good, I think we're going to be okay. Will there be a couple little blips? There probably will be.
There always
but I
is.
don't believe they're going to be with you at the helm.
No, and there'll always be some blips. I mean, we are a student-ran television station, obviously, here at Piqua High School. We don't have the ability to have very many students helping us right now because school is actually not in session here at Piqua until September the 8th. But we've got good people like Tom Beck, who used to run the TriCaster. He'll be doing our replay. We do have one student running a camera for us, and then Tom Beck is also providing another cameraman for us as well.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that once we do this, we might find that this is a good way of doing it to avoid some of the chaos that you might find in the press box. We might be setting a little precedent here, and I tend to think it's got a lot of potential. Looking forward to it.
And we've gotten so much better at doing our broadcast here over the past couple of years. You and Bob have stuck with me, and we've had our ups and downs, but I think we've had more ups than downs here recently.
Well, you sent me a couple of the discs from last year's 5 games, and I'll be real honest with you. When it came to actually the starting of the game, the first set to the last set, it was number one, and I think you'd be complimented for that, you and everybody that helps.
Well, thank you very much. Let's talk a little bit about the playoff structure. Obviously, it's going to be different this year. We play 6 games. Whether you're 0-0, 0-6, or 6-0, you're getting into the playoffs no matter what. From what me and you have understood, first round of the playoffs, the top 4 teams decided in their regions, which the coaches will actually be deciding regions in mid-September. They will get a bye.
But there will be 12 teams at each tournament site. Is that right?
I believe so.
And the top 4 teams will get a bye.
The top 4 teams will get a bye, and then 5 through 12 will play each other. I believe probably 5 will play 12 or 11,
Certainly.
however it works. But the top seeded team from 5 down to 12 will get the home game. That's pretty much what we understand for now.
And I think you're right. And you were mentioning earlier that somewhere along the line, a group of coaches are going to seed the teams by division and by site. And I think that in itself will be interesting because you're going to have coaches who are going to be making decisions about some teams that they've got limited information on. But I like the idea. That's basically what they do in basketball. I have a lot of confidence that that'll be done well. But again, still some questions to be answered. But it's going to be interesting. I really think it's going to be interesting, and I just wonder how the playoffs are going to end. I hope it goes smoothly. I hope we don't have any problems with the virus that will ever interfere with the 6 games or the playoffs. I'm hoping that's not going to be something we have to deal with.
And I hope all the fans that visit Alexander Stadium and all the stadiums around the state of Ohio take this seriously. Wear your mask in the stands, social distance. These kids have worked so hard all summer long when they were able to have this season. We may not have a lot of college football going on in this Ohio region this year. May not be till next fall. But these kids have worked hard to have a season. We've already seen soccer kick off. We've seen volleyball tip off. We've seen our golf teams and cross-country teams and tennis teams. They've all started playing. We're just waiting on this football. Just please wear your mask in the stands, social distance. Don't give anybody any crap when you come in the stadium about having to wear a mask. You bought the ticket. You know what we have to do to keep this season going for the Piqua Indians.
And again, I think, AJ, everybody has to realize there are a lot of people who wondered if we are going to have any football. Yeah. So let's be thankful we got 6 games in the playoffs.
Yes.
Because there are people who felt that the contact sport of football is going to have to go by the boards, as it has other places, especially at the college level. So are we inconvenienced? Yes, we are inconvenienced. There are going to be a lot of people who would like to come. Can you imagine the Piqua-Troy game with 1,500 people in the stands?
I don't think I've ever seen one with less than that, even when it's been a torrential or a downpour and cold and freezing.
Yeah, so I tend to think that we've been pretty fortunate, but we always have to remember that the health and safety of the kids, the coaches, the band members, everybody associated with, we support everything that the Department of Health, Governor DeWine, and the Ohio High School Athletic Association have done because they've worked hard, and I can't imagine how many hours they put into putting all this together, including the athletic directors at the local schools who have been bombarded with change, and they've responded very well.
And the superintendents as well. They've all done a great job getting
it has not been easy, AJ.
No, it's not. And they've done a tremendous job getting all the seasons ready to go, while putting guidelines in place for school to be able to be back in session. And some local schools already are as well.
That's right.
All right, let's dive in here. We got the 136th meeting all time between Troy and Piqua here tonight. Troy leading the series, 66 wins, 63 losses, 6 ties thrown in between there. It's the most played rivalry game in the state of Ohio. The last time our Piqua Indians beat Troy was back in 2015. It's been 5 years since we've beaten Troy. We beat them 26-7. Since then, it's been 4 straight wins for the Trojans.
There hasn't been a Piqua Indian in uniform Friday night who's ever been on the winning side against Troy. Let's hope we can break that string. Tomorrow night.
The only people that have beaten Troy on that sideline will be the coaches.
That's right.
In 2016, Troy beat us 37-14. In 2017, it was 32-6. 2018, it was our first Troy Piqua game here on the Indian Nation Station. It was a 7-6 game, very well played for both teams. And in 2019, it was 35-9. The Indians are going to have a new quarterback. Blaine Uhl going back to wide receiver and defensive back. His brother, Brady Uhl, the sophomore, will take over, as well as the Indians defense we talked about earlier, returning, I think, around 9 starters from a very good defense last year.
I think the defense is going to be one that we're going to be proud of, and I really believe that the offense is going to be also a bit of a surprise. I tend to think that we're going to put more points on the scoreboard than we had imagined, and we're going to have to, but although with our defense, 14 or 21 points could win some of these ball games. Our defense is going to be rock solid.
Oh, we shut out Sydney last year with our defense, and Sydney was deep down in the red zone at one point, and Jarrell Lewis went in there, stripped the ball away from the running back, got the ball back for the Indians offense. Troy, again, I believe this year, they're going to be contenders. They're always contenders to win the Miami Valley League. This season, they're looking to grab their 5th straight win. The Indians are looking to grab a W and start a streak of their own. We're down 3 games in the series all time against Troy. And for the first time in many, many years, Piqua and Troy is playing the first game of the season.
Yes, when this schedule came out, the first thought I had was, when's the last time Piqua and Troy have ever had the opening game? If you're not a native, and I'm not a native, I would have guessed it goes way back, but it really doesn't go back until 1981 when Troy decided to join the Western Ohio League, and that required that they make a move, and they went to the first game of the season. Don't remember it, of course, but by the same token, I like the last game, but under the circumstances we're dealing with today, I like the first game. Let's get started with the top-notch teams, and we got them in Piqua and Troy.
Yes, we do. And, it's going to be a good game, I believe, on both sides of the ball for both teams. Piqua's offense is going to look way different than what it has in the past. I believe we're going to probably do a more spread offense, I believe, from what I've heard. You got Brady back there who's got an arm. You've got receivers like Shrub and Uhl, his brother. They had a couple connections last season. Our defense, Lance Reeves-Hicks, that kid is going to be able to play at any Division I college, I believe.
We've got some Division I players, but let's not forget the kicking game.
Yeah.
I think we might have the best kicker in Jackson Tremblay in the MVL, if not in Miami Valley, and so the kicking game is well in tow with Jackson. He's outstanding. He's a college kicker.
And, last year we look back at last year's game. It was a 35-9 loss, but most people don't remember. It was 7-7 at halftime. Piqua scored here on a long touchdown pass from Brady Uhl. I can't remember who caught the touchdown pass in the end zone. But it was 7-7 at halftime, and then Troy just came out and started dominating in the second half.
Second half was all Trojans, but by the same token, that was yesterday. This is today.
Yep, it really is. Do you have any keys, you think, for the game for an Indians win, I would say?
Well, again, I think the key is one that we've mentioned a couple times, and that is how many points can we put on the scoreboard?
Yeah.
Because we know defensively we're not going to give up 40 points. If we give up 14, that's going to be a bad night for the defense. So I think now we have to find a way of getting in the end zone, and I tend to think with everything that's being done, I think we got a chance of being, I hate to say explosive, but I think we have a chance of putting some on the board. That'll be essential to coincide with what the defense is going to end up doing for us.
And our offense has got to be able to keep our defense off the field. Our defense has got to be able to go out there and get 3 and outs and turnovers, and our offense has got to be able to control the ball, control the clock, I believe, again, because Troy's offense is always going to be good. No matter who the running back, quarterback, receivers are, they're always going to be pretty decent.
Yes, and we got to make sure before we end this broadcast to let people know Troy is going to be a good football team.
Oh, yeah.
They expect to be a good football team. Yeah. They have been a good football team. So it's going to be a battle of 2 awfully fine, well-coached teams. It ought to be a dandy. It ought to be a heck of a way of starting what has been a very unique 2020 football season.
And not only is it going to be a huge game, but if you get this win week 1 and start your 6-game season at 1-0, being the short, I feel like you have the advantage over everybody else because you're in contention now for one of those top 4 seeds.
Sure. Momentum is going to be big. And, boy, if you can beat Troy, you've got momentum that's going to be kind of hard to dispel.
Well, Dwayne, do you have anything else you want to mention here before we get off the air here today? I mean, we have a great game coming up next here on the Indian Nation Station.
Only a couple things, and you've already mentioned them. Let's make sure that the people get a chance to see the ball game, watch the ball game, and because we ought to have a good audience because there are going to be only 1,500 people in the stands. And remember, everything that's happening in the country, I guess with the virus, we've got to remember that the safety and health of everybody has to be paramount, even to this great big ball game we're looking forward to.
Yep, I agree with you 100%. Well, again, thank you guys for watching the Indian Nation Station pregame show right here on the Indian Nation Station. It's your home for Piqua Athletics. We want to thank Buffalo Wings and Rings for being able to show our game live next here on the Indian Nation Station's YouTube page. For those who couldn't come out to the game due to the COVID restrictions, stay tuned. Look for the link in our Facebook page, on our YouTube page, for us to be going live right here on the Indian Nation Station's YouTube page. For Dwayne Bachman, the voice of Piqua football, I'm AJ Ganger, saying good night, ladies and gentlemen. Go Piqua, beat Troy.